Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the greatest podcast that's ever lived a life of luxury. I'm your host, Will Crosby. Joining me this week, as always, is the lovely, the beautiful, the well-dressed Ian Gibson.
Hello, we can hear the music. It's great.
Can you believe it? It worked this week, and I quickly hit a button to make sure it worked. Also here, Jake Terrio, the Lego expert.
Yep.
Great.
He's here. Sorry, I'm getting used to these headphones that I use now because the other ones definitely bled back into it, and he could always hear himself. And it's like I don't quite hear myself enough, so I feel like I'm talking super loudly. Anyways, folks, we're here to talk about all sorts of lovely things, but before we get to the video games, we gotta talk about the chit chat section of the show. It's just a little too chatty. Folks, I've been looking for a new TV, and Ian,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm getting an OLED, and I know how much that makes you angry.
It doesn't make me angry. It's just like, if you want to buy another TV in 2 to 3 years, then yeah, sure, get an OLED. That's what I would say.
So I came down between the LG C2 and the Samsung Q741 LED, whatever, Quantum.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it came down to the fact that the LG B2, which is the one less than the C2, is on sale at Micro Center for half off for the next month. So
So B2, what's the difference between the B2 and the C2?
The biggest thing I can figure out is the C2 is brighter for bright rooms. Is that how it works? You want a brighter TV in a brighter room?
What's like the max nit?
I can't remember.
Like 1200.
It's just a little bit more. Like the B2 is just a less powerful version.
As long as it's not too dim, then yeah.
Right.
Although your room's fine. Your room's fine for it. Yeah,
so that basically, and then I asked some people at work, and I had 4 or 5 people who all have C1s and C2s, and someone else had an OLED or an LG OLED that they hadn't experienced any burn in, and one of them had left something running overnight. But as far as I can tell, anyone who really gets burn in usually turns off the pixel shift and then leaves it on for a long time,
because it has a built-in pixel shift by default.
So LGs have a pixel shift that static pixels it will move around the screen, and by most accounts it's not noticeable, but they said it's usually only in like very still stuff that you would notice it for. And then the final thing was the like judder is an issue, but it's more of like all
that's every
OLEDs and modern TVs have problem with judder on 24 frames a second thing. Like panning shot.
Yeah, basically the screens are typically 60 hertz, 120 hertz, etc. And you can't divide 60 into 24 evenly. So when they do the pan, you don't. There's a tiny bit of actually, it's a pretty fucking noticeable judder, but it's across the board. You can't do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's not worth pretty much. Yeah, it's not worth worrying about because it's gonna happen.
Although there some TVs do have this feature called like motion smoothing, where if you turn it on, it gets rid of the judder. So here's the problem. Here's the problem though: is motion smoothing looks terrible, but I think that is the one legitimate use for it, which is getting rid of that. It's like motion smoothing is just barely worse than fucking judder because the judder is awful. It's terrible in some shots.
So the one thing all the TVs were saying is they have motion interpolation.
Yeah, that's motion smoothing.
Which is motion smoothing. I know, but my favorite thing is they are writing that because they know if they write motion smoothing, people are going to fuck that.
I forgot, what does TCL call it? Isn't it like action clarity or something?
Everybody calls it something different. It's all dumb.
Get Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. So you mentioned Micro Center half off. So tell me, what's the size and what's the price?
So they have the LG B2 listed It says retail is $16.99 and it is listed
Mhm.
for $8.99.
Okay, that's probably worth it. Because
And
I think like just to talk about my problems with OLED is as somebody who came from a plasma and babied that plasma, you still get burn in over time. And
totally.
mine lasted 5 years, I want to say. And honestly, the only reason I got burn in bad enough was because Maggie was not handling it properly. Like I remember one time I came home and she was asleep on the couch and Cheers was up, but it was paused, and there was just the
No.
Netflix thing saying, "Are you still watching?" And that like burned in the 4x3 black bars for for a bit. And it was just shit like that. And that ruined it. But
Yeah.
the other thing about the OLEDs, it's mostly the price thing. Like, okay, if you plan that this TV, if you have burn-in issues with this TV, it's now going to be every, let's stretch it and say 4 to 5 years. If you're just having to spend $2,000 on a TV every 4 to 5 years, that's a bit much for me.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that the LGs have had some quality issues, and the reason why I know this is because I've seen multiple people post images and tweets and be like, "Man, I love my LG C series, but does anybody else have this weird green line at the bottom? It's only 18 months old." Or they're just like, "I love my C series and I'm buying a new one." And people are like, "Why are you buying a new one?" They're like, "Cuz my last one crapped out after 2 years." And I'm like, "What the fuck is wrong with you people that they're like, this TV's amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, it looks amazing, but like people seem to be going through them at about a 2-year pace." And
Mhm.
it's just like, and people being like, "Oh, I played Destiny so much it's burned it on my OLED." And I'm like, "That's not good, you it's so like, hey, I think this is a great price. Honestly, if I could get an OLED at $900, I would seriously consider it. I would not pay that MSRP. I probably wouldn't pay more than
No.
$1,200 for an OLED. Yeah.
Which, yeah, the Samsung and the C2 are both 1200, and I was leaning towards those until I saw this deal, and I was like, yeah, let me go with this because that way
Yeah.
I feel better about it because I don't want to just drop. Listen, I'll drop $1,200 on cards over 6 months, but I won't just drop $1,200. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
it makes a little more sense. Plus, this TCL, the black smearing and the ghosting on it right now are just, I see it every time, and I can't force myself to not notice it now. So I was like,
Put it in the bedroom.
yeah, put
Bedroom
it in the
TV.
bedroom.
Hell
No,
yeah.
I'm gonna Facebook Marketplace that crap.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I don't mean, I bought a new monitor recently. Just because I OBS, I don't know if you guys noticed, but like 6 months ago, so OBS did a big update where they changed their UI, like they updated their UI and stuff. It was like version 28 or something. Um, they did something in that UI where it no longer works well on a 1680 by 1050 screen. Like that they don't really support that resolution anymore because there's too many elements like overlapping or menus that don't display all their options and there's no scroll bar. So long story short, I was like, okay, I need to get a 1080p monitor to replace my old 1680 by 1050, or not necessarily replace it, but to become my new OBS monitor. And so this monitor popped up on sale. It's 27-inch 1080p. It's actually like 144 hertz, what I don't give a shit about. And it was
Mhm.
$90. And I was like, perfect. So I got this new monitor. The 1680 by 1050 is over here now, but it meant that I had to retire my first flat screen monitor that I got, I believe, in February of 2003 or February of 2004. So it is 19 to 20 years old. My 1280 by 1024 first flat screen monitor
Wow.
that I've used constantly for 20 years. And it's a little sad, to be honest with you, just letting go a piece of tech that's been a part of my life that so long. It's like when I had to get rid of the iPod because the click wheel stopped working and they weren't selling them anymore.
Oh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that. This
Upsetting.
this Samsung SyncMaster I've got over here is maybe 10 years, 8 to 10 years old. I've had for a very long time.
Oh,
A nice
Hazel and I have never bought a television. We still have the television that was in my grandpa's condo, which he had before my family moved to Florida, which was 2007. So it's probably 2004, 2005.
Oh wow.
Wow.
Jake, buy a new fucking TV, man.
Not after
Jake,
all
you want to
this.
come You
chit
want to come
chat.
pick up a TCL? You can have
I do
it.
not.
Seriously, it's crazy. With all the insanity going on in the market, TVs have never been fucking cheaper, and apparently they're going to get even cheaper this year because they made too many of them.
Nice. I'll
And
wait
it's
for Black Friday.
yeah, just to round out the TV chat, like when we were prepping for Extra Life last year, I was like, I need an extra TV just to throw Twitch chat on, and I was like looking around at used TVs and all this shit. And then before Black Friday, like a month before Black Friday, this deal popped up on Amazon and Target, and it was like, hey, you want a 4K HDR, like 42-inch TCL TV for, I think it's normally like 250 or 300. I think I paid $110 for it, brand
Nice.
new. And I was like, yeah, that's that's basically what I would pay for a used TV. And it was brand new and it works and it's great. So like, hell yeah, it's a good time to buy a TV right now. I'm glad you found one, Will. Did you purchase it yet?
No, I have to go down. It's not an in-store only deal, but it's you have to pay in store.
He's
or
driving down to the docks.
something. It's like because when you click on it, it's like, oh, you get free delivery if you pay in store, but I don't know if you pay online. Like I didn't go that far through to it, so.
Yeah, I think I've done that before with Micro Center because I would like order all my PC parts and then go pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, what size was it again?
55-inch.
Yeah, that's good because you got a small living room, so that's a good solid size for it. Because even then, you're still close to it. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same size as the one I currently have, so it'll kind of work out. That's pretty much it. I'll skip the quick. I got Jehovah's Witness from you, and I know you're getting lots of crackling from my here. Let me just restart this quick. So,
Okay, Jake, how about you tell us about the games you've been playing?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I was out of town last week for work, which is why I was delayed in my Lego 2K Drive impressions video. On the flight back, I contracted something and came down with a fever, so I started playing Octopath Traveler 2, and it just kind of overwhelmed my fried brain. But I think I played like 2 hours of it. I started with my first character, and then I got far enough to get a second member of the party. I started with the hunter, and then I picked up the cleric. I can't remember either of their names. So far, not a lot different from Octopath Traveler 1, except a different like superpower move set that you build up by breaking the opponent's, that little counter that you can break to like stun them. You build it up by breaking that or taking damage, and then it's like a super powered move set. But the art's great, the music's great. But I only played like 2 hours of it, so I'm gonna go back to it at some point.
It's been getting a lot of good praise, and I was considering playing it, but somebody tweeted today, and it just killed any desire I had to play that game. And they said, I'm really enjoying Octopath Traveler 2. I am 80 hours into the game. I have completed 3 of 8 storylines. And I was like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm not gonna. I'm out. I'm out.
Is that 3 of 8 like the big ones, like restarting the game storylines, or in game?
No. I think you go around and you like focus on one of them at a time, kind of like Live Alive.
In Octopath Traveler 1, you picked whoever your first person was, but then once you added people to your party, you could optionally skip their first chapter or play through their first chapter, which is the same in Octopath Traveler 2. And then in the first one, you also then could pursue each of their stories as you wanted. There were like markers on the map to be like, continue this person's story here, continue that person's story there. And so I think in Octopath Traveler 1, yeah, I don't think I finished it. I think I was close to the end, and then I just kind of petered out. But I think I was probably 80 or 90-ish hours in. But I was only I was only really focusing on one or two of the stories, and once I got to the end, I wasn't gonna go do the rest of
Yeah.
them because that was crazy.
Like
I hmm?
I was just gonna say, like JRPG is not my favorite genre, but it is one of those genres I would like to play more of. And probably the biggest obstacle is the obscenely long playtimes. Like I
Mhm.
played 60 hours of Persona 5, and I think I was only about 2/3 of the way through. Like,
Yeah.
just give me a fucking solid 15-hour incredible JRPG, and I'm in, baby. I'll beat that fucker tomorrow. But
Yeah.
when you tell me you're about to hit triple digits on a normal playthrough and it's the greatest game of all time, is it for all 100 hours? Is it really though? Cuz that's a lot of time, you know? And I I really wish there were shorter JRPGs. They should be out there. They
Mhm.
should absolutely be out there.
Yeah, because even in Octopath Traveler 1, like the first I don't know, probably the first 10 or 12 hours are kind of a slog. Once you get to a point where you can have 4 heroes in your party at once
Mhm.
and have like your whole kind of roster set for your battles, that's to me where the whole kind of combat system of the game clicked, because then it became super tactical of being like, okay, who goes first, what's going to do this, what's going to do that. You start to you're planning your moves ahead of time to all act in symbiosis with one another, where just with one character or two characters even, you always kind of feel like you're on the back foot in any encounter.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I still think there's too much time between like the big exciting story beats. Like it took
Man.
45 minutes to get to the big boss of the first chapter of my first character. And I remembered that being similar from Octopath Traveler 1. And I just kind of wished, because the combat feels so good when it's,
Mhm.
happening, I just wished I could get to those moments faster.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's check in with the resident JRPG fan though. Will, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. How am I sounding? Am I sounding okay?
You sound a little better.
Yeah.
You sound
Okay.
a little disappointed. Are you not going to play Octopath Traveler 2?
No, I did see that Live Live Alive,
Live
Living La Vida
Alive.
Loca, um, is coming out on Sony
PS5?
PC and something else.
I think there's a demo out for it too, which I think there was a demo on the Switch as well.
And that made me kind of be like, oh, I would play that if it was on my Steam Deck. That would be more fun.
Oh.
But
But the Switch is a smaller Steam Deck.
yeah, but it's not a better Steam Deck.
I don't know, it is smaller though. And I think it probably has a better battery life than the Steam Deck though.
Yeah. But I also
It's just I'm sorry, I'm just making fun of you because you're definitely in that mentality of like, I have this new hardware, I have to use it for everything. And you always get in the mentality of like, I'm gonna play something slightly worse because it's on my new hardware, even though it's available right now
I
on better older hardware.
I have come to the conclusion that I buy these expensive devices not out of a need, but for a eventual need. Just
I'm
like
there with you, buddy.
it took me a couple weeks before I had a game I really wanted to play on the Analog Pocket, and then I played it a ton. Same
Mhm.
with like the Switch and all that sort of stuff. And same with the Steam Deck. It wasn't until SteamWorld Dig that's when I played a ton on the Steam Deck. In docked mode was great, and in handheld
Yeah.
mode it played well. So it's just like I keep being like, what
Yeah.
should I try on it next? To figure that out.
As somebody who likes to buy retro consoles that they never had and then plays them for maybe an hour and then never touches them again, I can understand. And you're in a
Yeah.
better place than me.
Yeah, I did see that there's a new update, so you can have like a past 2 terabyte drive for a PlayStation 2 now, and so you can put all the like ISOs for all
Wow.
of the PS2 on a 16 terabyte hard drive. And
Oh,
just
that's right,
plug
because it
in.
just takes the platter drives. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
They like fix this. Anyways, Jake, tell us about your other games, please.
Yeah, so I also started to play previous Game of the Year contender Tunic on my Xbox because it's on Game Pass. Um, and I'm 2-3 hours into it. Hold on, let me check my time if I can pull it up easily.
Check your time. Xbox
Check
app.
your time.
How long to
Xbox
beat?
app. How
80
long to beat?
hours.
They need to make
80
this
1,000
hours.
hours.
easier.
200
1,000
million
hours.
hours. 400 million
57.
hours.
Oh,
5.
92.
exactly 3 hours. It says
Okay.
3 hours and 0
Damn.
minutes.
You owe me
So
$50, Ian.
I just beat
Sit on it.
the garden warrior, the little like stone monster that comes together in the
Oh.
western part of the map with the
Yeah.
big flamey sword.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna say several things that are gonna sound exactly like I talked about Elden Ring, where I'm enjoying it and I'm enjoying the atmosphere and the music and the aesthetic, but it's a little bit too obtuse right
100%.
now for me to really
110%.
feel like I can sink my claws into it. I'm still, compelled, as with Elden Ring, to kind of keep going and keep exploring and see how far I can get. Because I am getting, I am feeling the same kind of feelings I got when I first played through Hyper Light Drifter, where it's just kind of this big meandering, sprawling, esoteric world that I just kind of want to keep
Mhm.
looking around every corner to see what's there. Um, and I'm finding that some of my um, exploration sensibilities from having played Hyper Light Drifter so much, I feel like I'm discovering something that probably I'm discovering little paths and avenues through the world that I don't know if a lot of stuff that I would usually find as like a first time player. I'm like, you know, I don't know,
Mhm.
rambling. Um, so
No,
yeah,
that
I'll
that
keep
makes
going,
sense.
but I'm
Yeah, that
not
game
I'm
it's
not
it's
into
not
I'm not
welcoming.
100% into it yet.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like I it I tried that beginning like twice, and then it wasn't until Zach from Save Day was like, "Oh, it gets really good," and so then I played it a bunch, and I got maybe like 10 or 11 hours in, and then I hit this one section. There was this one awesome section that was just like, "Whoa, I can't believe you're doing this," and then the section after that was dog shit and the worst thing I've ever done in my life. And I turned on all the kid modes for the game to get through it. And on the other side, I was like, this is still intriguing, but I'll come back to you later.
Mm.
And I haven't been back.
And then I've just still been playing Destiny 2, which
You haven't been on since Lightfall, and I'm interested to hear your take because Lightfall, a lot of hype, and then a lot of people don't like Lightfall.
sure,
So
sure, sure.
what's going on over there?
I think that there is a lack of nuance in a lot of the discussion around Lightfall, where understandably, a lot of people, when the big expansions hit, um, they're not necessarily being advertised because of their quality of life improvements. They're being advertised because of advancing the story of Destiny in a
Mhm.
big way. And
Yeah.
the narrative of Lightfall was kind of a huge swing and a miss. Um,
Wow.
it was like 50% dramatizing the tutorialization of the new subclass, where there were just like a lot of missions in the main campaign that were really only there
Yeah.
to teach you how to use the new subclass, and then the other half of the missions were actually about the story. But then they were just like deliberately obfuscating what felt like important details to contextualize what you were doing and why you were doing it. Um, some of which have begun to be elaborated on in the weeks since the launch, in the seasonal story and in the additional missions that were unlocked as um, as like the when people beat the raid and after certain points in the everything in Destiny kind of functions on 3-week cycles, um, where stuff rotates and then you get to do a new mission and then next week it's a different mission and the next week it's a different mission and then it cycles back. Um, but it just seemed like that was an odd way to deploy important narrative content. Like that to my mind is where you put like the supplemental stuff, like the 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 icing on the cake rather than the entree. um, but the quality of life stuff, excellent. We finally have loadouts. You can finally set loadouts for your guardian, so you're not swapping individual weapons and armor to suit your needs.
Oh.
You can craft a build, save it, craft another build, save it, and then it's just one button press to get your whole new thing instead of, 5 or 6, which it's been 10 years and we finally have that. The new subclass Strand feels great. Yeah, the grapple, swapping out your grenade for a grapple is excellent.
Does it pull you in as well as I saw a video of someone swinging with it and I wasn't sure if it's like a swing thing or it pulls you to where it is. Like an actual grapple.
The Hunter Super has like a swingy chain thing, but that's different. The grapple, yeah, it locks to a point and you get pulled toward it. If you lock
Gotcha.
onto an enemy, it stuns the enemy and then you punch them upon impact.
Halo Infinite. Okay, now I
Yeah.
understand.
Just about to say that.
But there's there's other quality
That's-
of life
Wait,
stuff.
sorry, that's so weird though because Bungie made Halo,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like they're stealing from the people that took over Halo. For I
Yeah.
want to say stealing. That's harsh, but
Yeah.
that's interesting. That's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
Plagiarizing.
The seasonal story.
Fucking over.
The seasonal story is pretty interesting, and I won't get into spoilers if anybody
Thank God.
watching this
Oh, thank you.
cares. But
Can I just ask one question about the story?
Sure.
Is Lightfall about Buzz Lightyear?
No, but it's so bizarre that they chose to do such a similar title treatment.
That's what it is. It's the title treatment that makes me keep thinking Lightyear.
Yeah, I remember when the announcement for the expansion came and I saw that the title treatment, I was like Bungie's got a lot of really good graphic designers. Why did they do this?
Yeah.
But the seasonal story, all I will say is there was a major character death that has
Lance Reddick?
no because in his character has several moments of responding to that event where because of the death of Lance Reddick, those monologues have like a bit deeper resonance to them because he's dead, and it's just kind of a bummer to hear this man be sad.
Yeah,
when he's dead.
Well, Savala's still
so poignant. It's like Shakespeare.
It's like Shakespeare.
Are you saying
I don't know
Bungie
what they're gonna
killed-
do with him though. I know he's
AI
recorded.
technology, honest.
No, they're not gonna do that. But
No,
I know
they
he's
wouldn't.
recorded stuff through the next season.
Yeah,
But
and he's
beyond that-
still in the upcoming Hellboy game because they had his
Mhm.
lines.
Mm-hmm.
And John Wick.
In dedication to, they added. But yeah, that's Jake's Destiny 2 wrap up. If you have other questions.
I don't. I did see Lightyear though. We watched that on Movie Mondays here in the household, and I thought the 6.1 on IMDb was a little weird, and it's deserved.
Is that
It's
your
a
go-to
good-
IMDb?
It is not usually. I mean, I round it down. Like usually 8s are closer to my kind of 9s and 10s. But,
Honestly, I think I'm completely off the reservation. I think I just don't trust it because I've had too many. Y'all know me. I've got unique opinions, and there are too many instances of
Unique
opposites
opinions.
with IMDb and
That's
Rotten
true.
Tomatoes. So
That's true.
fucking Dungeons and Dragons movie. It's up to like 95% on Rotten Tomatoes again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a solid fucking 60, folks. It's not a good
I'm
movie.
going to see it on Sunday. First
I-
movie in the theater in a long
I feel like
time.
feel like I'm taking crazy pills. So let's talk about it next Thursday then.
I will say when we bought our seats today, not a single other person had bought seats in our AMC. So.
That's
It
movies
feels
now.
like a movie you show up to the theater and then buy the tickets there. Like no one's clamoring to see it, but when you get there, you're like,
No.
Dungeons and Dragons.
You buy the tickets, but then you show up 2 hours late and make an excuse, and then you watch the movie. It's a D&D joke.
No, you cancel it last minute and reschedule it.
One person cancels it, one person's late, everybody else is waiting.
Yeah, and everyone else shows up and just plays board games, and it's a much better time. No, but yeah, Lightyear was pretty good. Like the animation stuff is gorgeous and beautiful, and like everything's stunning. But the plot was just like, and also the first 15 minutes was Factorio to a T.
That sounds like
Which was
Factorio movie, man, would be great.
It would be great. No, but they literally crash land on a planet, and then it like time lapses them building enough stuff to make a rocket ship to fly
Nice.
back up. And I was just
Denis
like,
Villeneuve, Factorio.
This is Factorio.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I played some games this week. I played a tiny bit of Resident Evil 4 Remake. Every time I boot it up,
Really?
I hate my TV so much that I stop playing it, and I play Oblivion instead.
I could see that. Yeah.
Every single time because I'm so mad.
It's a dark game. So if your TV can't handle dark images right now, then yeah.
Yeah. That's why I haven't watched.
Shut up. I have that problem because y'all know my living room. My living room's kind of bright. So if I'm trying to watch or play something dark, especially if I know it's something that's in HDR where it's really going to be dark, I have to just like wait until evening or nighttime.
That's every Florida living room, though.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna have to buy like triple blinds just to be like, time to watch TV. Shut out all the light. You know. But anyways, Will, you were saying something stupid?
Anyways, I also have been continuing Professor Layton in the Diabolical Box on my phone. It's very enjoyable. I got so mad at it today because also I've been figuring out stuff quickly, like on a lot of them, and I feel like a genius. And then there's one or two where you're just like, "Fuck
It's
you,
great.
you little
It's
bitch!"
Great.
And your
It's
stupid
great.
hat. But then there's some that you don't answer right away and you finally figure out and you're like, yeah. But there was one today where it's like, oh, where's the spot where you can't see the top of the tower? And it's in the tower itself. Like, fuck you, and you bastard.
There's always at least like one puzzle in a Layton game where it's just like, how about you fuck off? There's zero chance.
Yeah, right? But today I had to do a bunch of math problems, like, oh, cut the necklace in 3 places to make 3 separate necklaces that are worth $2,600. Like, yes, I'll do that. And then there was another one with like my mom minus my dad is my age and like blah blah blah. What's my age?
Yeah.
And I just like did like algebraic equations and figured it out. And I was like, oh, this is so great, best game ever.
Layton's great. Layton's great.
Yeah, so I've been enjoying it. I'm finally at the point where I really don't remember puzzles at all. I've never remembered an answer, but I've remembered like the asking of it, and I'm like, oh. But now I'm completely past that, which is great. And then finally, Songs of Six I have been playing on the PC, the personal computer. Stop me if you've heard this one before. A top-down, grid-based colony simulator in which you don't directly control the people, but they kind of do your bidding.
Now what makes this different?
So
That's what
Songs
I'm
of Six,
interested
you end up having population. You're building cities, so you end up getting populations in the thousands, in the tens of thousands. You can also take those tens of thousands and go to war with people next to you. Everything's grid based. You're building out buildings. You can build any buildings to whatever size you want. You have to make sure they don't cave in. You place all the furniture and like workshops inside of them. There's a lot of resource gathering. It did a brief tutorial before it said just check the encyclopedia. So that's kind of where I'm at in this game. Checking the encyclopedia to see what it does. There's a bunch of different races that you can. So there's like pigmen and elves and humans. They all got weird names, and they all have loyalty. Everyone is everyone has like all of the stuff about them. They have funny names. They have their whole history. They have loyalty. Some races don't like other races. Surprise, surprise. Some races like cannibalism. You can't.
This looks good.
You can't build a residential district because you have to build homes near where they work. So it like makes this organic city that you're expanding.
Issue.
Yeah,
it's very fun. I bought it the other day, and I just I put a YouTube video on podcast, play that. It's got killer music too. It's like this Celtic woman being like,
can I put you on the spot?
Great.
Can we stream this in a week and a half? Because I would love to see this in action.
In a week and a half? What day is that?
April 11th. It's a Tuesday.
Yes, we can. Sorry. The 4th is when we're doing Oblivion. Yes, I can stream
correct.
This. Yeah, it's super fun. I'm enjoying it. So hopefully I'll have a better city to show off when we stream. And then
Nice.
That's it. That's all I've been playing. It was fun. Ian, tell me about your VTOL Gamer Zone.
Oh my god, guys. VTOL VR. I've talked about it before. It's the best VR game. Part of that is subjective. I do love some flying games and milsim games, and this is tickling my fancy. But part of this is objective. It is just a fantastic use of VR. Just to give you the quick rundown, this is basically a flight simulator where they're kind of doing their own interpretations of popular aircraft like the Osprey, the F-16, the F-18, the F-35. And what makes it great as a VR game is that two things. Number one is that the cockpit is completely interactable. So if you're playing something like Microsoft Flight Sim or like Elite Dangerous, or even that Star Wars Rogue Squadron game, you're in VR, but you're still using a controller. Or at best, you can grab the joystick, but everything else is still a button, etc. But VTOL VR, everything in the cockpit has to be touched. So like there's like a starting procedure where you reach out and you toggle on the main battery, and then you toggle on the main APU, and then you flip the cover for the engine, and then you toggle it on, and then you put the protective cover back down. And it's fantastic. Then the other thing that makes it really great is that it's just like the perfect balance between like Ace Combat arcadey, like you can do some real arcadey flying in that game, especially with some of the assists they have on by default. But it's also kind of like a DCS light, like if you're doing like GPS guided bombs, you have to use the targeting. You have to turn the targeting pod on, get a fix on the target, save that as a GPS target in your GPS list, and then push that GPS target to the bomb before you drop it. So it's not just like a point and shoot type of thing. And the reason why I've been playing it is they put out an update recently for the T-55, which is a new 2-person training jet. It's a pretty smart thing that they've done here because they're trying to push multiplayer more, and they've been adding a lot of multiplayer quality of life stuff. Like another thing in this update is liveries, so you can download and apply custom liveries within the game without having to do mods to your planes, and you can see other people's weird liveries and stuff. But the cool thing about the T-55 is that it's a training jet, so it's kind of like a 2-person F-16, but one of the seats can is the instructor seat, so they can see what the person in the other seat is seeing. They can give them control or take away control. So you can almost literally have an instructor be like, okay, I'm going to take you in the air. Now I'm going to give you control. Show me how to operate. Show me that you know how to operate the screens, and then show me that you're flying and I can take it over. Or as a lot of people have been having fun with, you just have one person as the pilot and the other person is the weapon safety officer. So they're doing the targeting pod, they're doing the GPS targets, and the other person's just doing the weapons. It's a lot of fun. I wasn't planning on talking about it because we did a stream on Tuesday, so go check that out. But I was playing this. I've been playing it a lot. I think I've played like 7 or 8 hours over the last week, which is a lot for a VR game. Because VR, you got to set it up, and then I can probably only spend about 90 minutes in there max before I start to feel a little queasy. And I had one of the greatest gaming moments I've ever had in VTOL VR. And what happened is I was in multiplayer and I joined a match that was in progress and it was PvE. So there was like 8 or 10 people on the server already in this mission. And the server was called US versus Iraqi Islamic State, Mosul City. And I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. So I hop in there and I get up in the air and I start flying towards the target. And the objective is just like, take out the people in the city. And there's people on comms being like, I don't see the bad guys. You guys see the bad guys? And they're like, they're down there. But the game was, again, the game's being realistic where like there's people in Jeeps, etc., running around the city. They're not just painted on your HUD. Like you've got to get close enough to get a visual and then they will pop up as a target. But if you're a couple miles away, you're not going to see them. But they had anti-aircraft missiles, so you got to be careful. So I'm playing this and I'm like starting to do some like crazy maneuvers where I'm like trying to come at them from like a low angle. I'm like 500 feet off the deck and I'm like blasting across the Euphrates. And then I just like pop up and I fire some missiles. And right as I do that, I hear the boop, boop, which means like objective achieved. And then it's like next objective, like defend from counterattack. And all of a sudden I hear President Donald Trump coming in and he goes, and it's that campaign suite. It's a clip of that campaign speech. I wish I could remember the exact quote, but he basically is like, you guys probably remember this. He's at a campaign rally and he says, all those people over there, those bad people, you know what I'm going to do to them when I'm president? I'll tell you what I'm going to do to them. I'm going to bomb the shit out of them. And everybody's like, yeah. And then I think it's like an Outcast version of Bombs Over Baghdad starts playing at full volume. It's just like bombs over Baghdad. And I'm like literally like 500 feet off the deck in like a 3G turn, like doing gun runs on this city. And I'm like,
jeez,
like laughing and crying because I'm like, this game's fucking incredible. Like I've had multiple moments like that in VTOL VR where it's like, the insanity of the community combines with just the pure gaming bliss. And it's incredible. Y'all got to play VTOL VR. It's like there is zero reason to buy a VR headset. VTOL VR is one of the few reasons that I'm like, maybe if you find a headset for maybe $250, you should buy one. Like it is a console defining game for me. And there are very few VR experiences like that out there.
I really want to play it. It sounds incredible.
It's great.
I also really want like a smash cut of you in this world being like woo, and then just you sitting in your office like in Always Sunny when they're dancing. It'll be like that smash cut. It'll be great. Yeah, that sounds fun. Let me know what I want them to add a bunch of like I want them to add like a Boeing to that.
I was thinking about that too, because the last DLC was basically a 2-person attack helicopter. This latest DLC is a 2-person trainer jet. I would like for them to go either like a Boeing, like a B-52 or something, like a bomber, or an AC-130 gunship where you have like 2 or 3 people and, you know, one person's flying, the others are manning the guns and you got to maintain like the bank angle. Or the F-22 Raptor, because I don't know if you guys know about the F-22 Raptor, but it has like insane thrust vectoring. So like basically Top Gun Maverick at the end when they're like, oh, it's a next gen fighter and they're pulling all those like crazy falling leaf maneuvers and shit. It's because they have thrust vectoring, because they can vector the engine nozzle like crazy. So if they added that in the game as like something where you're controlling the thrust vector and you start pulling like crazy fucking maneuvers.
Wait, has Will not seen Top Gun? Is he fake plugging his ears over his headphones?
It's not a spoiler. It's not a spoiler.
I haven't seen either Top Gun.
You don't need to see the first one. They recap it.
You don't really need to see the second one. They're good. They're not as amazing as everybody. Anyways,
the SR-71 was a 2-seater.
Yeah, but it's not fun to fly.
Sure, it's just fast and high.
I played a mod of the X-15. and it was
Ooh.
fun for about 5 minutes
That's one
because
my grandpa worked on.
because it was like you couldn't see shit. You know, there's like little tiny windows here, and you're just
Mhm.
like, yeah, I'm going real fucking fast.
What's the one that needs the sled to take off?
A lot of them. The
That,
X15
like-
had to be dropped to take off.
Well, what's the one? I didn't. Adam Savage flew in it for MythBusters.
Oh,
Are you talking about the U2?
Yes.
Yeah,
Where
the
it-
U2. That's what I'm thinking of.
Because it only has one central landing gear.
Yeah.
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 That's what I was thinking.
It's wobbly.
Yeah.
Those
But
are cool
honestly,
points.
at this point, like this game is made by one person. And every time he updates the game, it just makes it better. So like literally I'm at the point where like I wasn't that interested in the 2-person jet. It's not for me. I bought it literally the minute that it came out. Like it popped up and somebody was like, it's out now. And I was like, fucking buy it. You know, like this game's incredible. So for all of you out there that have a VR headset and can play PC VR games, buy this game and play it. You will absolutely enjoy it. And honestly, if you're not into the combat aspect, he has a sister game, I think called Airborne Racing or Jetborne Racing, which is the same flight mechanics, but it's air racing. So there's no combat in it. And basically what he did was he released VTOL VR. He wasn't quite making enough money from it. So he then released Jetborne Racing as a VR air racing game. And he's like, this is easy for me to do, and it'll raise enough money for me to go back to VTOL VR and add shit to it, which is what he's done. So it's a really cool game. If you have any interest at all, check it out. It's cool.
Buy VTOL VR so you can commit war crimes with Ian online.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Ian
It's
and
great.
President Trump.
I'll just say this, Jake. I did a mission the other night in multiplayer. Will knows about this because I talked to him about it, where somebody ripped the Death Star trench run from Rogue Squadron
Ooh, that sounds
with like
good.
with like the audio and everything.
Yeah.
And I joined during the mission briefing, so I'm in a mission briefing room with like 10 other people, and we're just like waving at each other. And some guy was up front. He's like, "Okay, guys, here's what we're gonna do. We gotta take the Death Star." And it's just like
It was
we're
John
like,
Ratzenberger.
"Yeah!" Yeah, and we're just like flying over this like half-assed Death Star trench run, but we're like, yeah, but it's like playing all the noises and shit. You're like, yeah, it was great.
Yeah,
That does
Darth
sound good.
Vader. I really want to play it. I'm super jealous. Okay, moving on to the news, which is where we play the news theme before we do the news. It's time for the news.
Heck of a news theme.
Every week,
Hey.
every week I'm like, I know he says news, but sometimes it sounds like nudes. Time for the
Oh.
nudes.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh. I could take. Is this
Some
my
Pixel
moment of
After
triumph? It's time for the news. Biggest news of the day. Let's just get it right out of the way, guys. I shaved my no. E3.
oh, I was about to say which one because there are multiples here that are big news.
E3 canceled.
Fuck, guys, this is
Get
sad.
outta
Isn't
here.
this sad? Isn't
Never
this
coming
sad?
back.
Nah. They took the dog out back and shot in the head. That's what they do with dogs, right?
This is bad. Like E3 was always good. Yeah, sure. People who went to it would complain about it. I don't fucking care. This was the Super Bowl for the industry. This was the Oscars. This was let's all get together and go fucking crazy about video games for a week. And it's gone now. And that's sad. That's very sad, quite frankly.
Wow, really brought it down. I will say yes, I agree. I think the best thing about E3 was the thing they didn't run, which was the press conferences back to back on a Saturday, Sunday,
Yes.
Monday. I really enjoyed that. I liked for the couple of years taking off of work and like hanging out at home, putting
Yeah.
the Giant Bomb live streams on, playing video games and watching. I remember the Fallout 4 reveal, sitting in bed watching that. So that I'm gonna miss. That's been gone for a bit. The show and what they do, I think someone else can do it better. I don't think that person is Jeff Keighley and Summer Games
definitely
Fest.
not.
But I think I'm hoping Reed Pop might have gotten
Yeah.
a little taste of it and being like, "Hey, next year let's do something big," or Reed Pop team up with Summer Games Fest and have some other opinions in there and make because I think the thing I like the most about, sorry, I'm rambling. The thing I like the most about E3 was it was contained inside of like a week. You got
Yes.
all of your
Yes.
information in that week instead of sprinkled out during that first year of the pandemic. And it was just
God,
like,
the
what? When did you
fucking
announce that? It
console.
was the PC Gamer Show. It was the IGN Fest. It was this.
The
It was
console.
that. It was
It
like,
was a console launch year, and they never announced pricing. It leaked for Microsoft, and then it leaked for Sony because they were playing chicken shit with their press conferences. And like that's the thing about E3 is that it's put up or shut up time. You know, even though for the last several years they have not been running those press conferences, they are during that fucking week or before and after that week because that's when you do it. And that was the great thing about E3 was that it wasn't about the show floor. It wasn't about the press conferences. It was about coalescing all of the games industry into 1 week of like celebration, announcement, hype, insanity. And we all loved that. And when you don't have E3 there as the magnet, it's gonna fucking scatter. You know, even when Sony was like, we're done with E3, they were still holding fucking press conferences that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday night, whenever they wanted to. You know? It was so big you couldn't ignore it even if you weren't part of E3. And I'm afraid that now that it's gone, it's like you say, we're just going to get a weird sprinkling of press conferences throughout the year, which sucks.
yeah. And it was also nice because like Comic-Con's been around for a while doing the movie stuff, like you hear what's coming out for Marvel, what's coming out for this. But video games were different because there were so many studios within publishers that it was multiple games. It wasn't just like in 4 years is coming this game, in 10 years is this game. Like with movies, it was like this year this is coming, this is coming, this is coming, all from Square Enix or all from EA. So you would get that week concentration mattered more because it was like when you were finding out about everything. And then the reason magazines and stuff did stuff was interviews and previews and reviews. Like, yeah, it was just so nice. So I agree with you in part. Like the things that E3 didn't directly do, but the effects of E3 I think are gonna be missed.
Yeah. So I just hope just to be clear, E3 is not completely dead. They canceled this year, no digital or physical event. This is in the worst state they've ever been because before they have had to cancel and say it's pandemic year, before they've had to go digital. This is them just dropping the ball 2 months out, basically, and not recovering in any way. So they could be back next year. We'll have to see. I'm glad that it sounds like a lot of studios, especially Microsoft, were already planning to hold press conferences around that week. So I think we'll at least get that magnet effect for this year. My concern is next year and the following years, like we said, with that magnet effect gone, everything's going to scatter and that's going to suck.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on here, Jake, can you tell me? I did watch your lovely impressions video, but can you tell me all about? You had what?
I had a fever when I recorded it.
Oh, Lego 2K Drive.
Yeah, 22 years after Lego
22
Racers
years.
2, the Lego Group has partnered with 2K and Visual Concepts to create the horribly named Lego 2K Drive.
It's a terrible name.
It's so bad. But it does sound like when I made the impressions video, I had only watched the trailer and then the GameSpot preview because Will told me to. I didn't want to read or watch a bunch of other impressions and interviews because I wanted it to just be, gut reactions. I didn't want to poison that well. But since then, I have watched and read a fair amount about it, and it does sound like maybe Will was on the right track in local chat, where Lego has other things in store with 2K that are gonna get the 2K name attached to them. To be seen whether or not that is true, but that was
2K be seen.
2K be seen. But for Lego 2K Drive, which I didn't know had some like Hydra Thunder alums working on it, which seems kind of interesting. They have apparently 5 years of post-launch content that they would like to
I'm sure they do. They would
Yeah.
like to deploy that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're going to be shutting down the game servers in 9 months' time. So,
I don't think so. This feels like, I mean, this
yeah,
feels
no,
like a game that they are gonna microtransact to hell and back.
I can see
Um,
that. Yeah.
because they also have talked about that they have several IP collaborations that they're playing close to the vest, but that Lego fans are gonna love. Which I don't know if that means characters from original racers or like Ninjago or other
No,
kind of
it
It's
means
Lego
gonna be the Lego
Minecraft.
movie.
Minecraft the Lego
No,
movie,
it's going to be whatever
Black
popular
Adam.
IP whatever popular IP they've wrangled into a Lego
Oppenheimer.
set, they're going to do that.
I mean, that
So,
could be so much stuff. That could be Star Wars, that could be Lord of the
Indiana
Minecraft,
Rings,
Jones.
Harry
yeah,
Potter, Minecraft,
the shit we don't care about. Where's
Scooby
my Lego
Doo,
Island
The
tie-in?
Mystery Machine. Yeah, Lego Island. They
So
should
just
do
Rock Raiders.
yeah.
pepperoni.
So real quick, visual concepts that just looking at their history.
Sports.
Yeah, they've been doing NBA and WWE 2K20, 21, 22, 23. And they assisted previously on WWE 2K. 2K. They did NHL in 20. It's just a shitload of sports stuff. And I have not heard good things about these games other than
No,
NBA
they're
2K.
like notoriously
So
buggy, are they not?
I think I'm not saying these are bug free. These ones are less buggy. So
Okay.
WWE was very buggy before with a different developer, and
Okay.
apparently they are slightly better but stripped of content more
Hmm.
recently. NBA 2K, I believe, is just like horrible microtransactions throughout, but at least runs well enough that people enjoy it. But again, sports games yearly releases, it's a very low bar to clear when you're
Sure.
compared to like Madden, etc. So
Yeah.
because look, I'm gonna be selfish here. I really just care about two things. Number one, how does the driving feel?
Mm-hmm.
And number two, does the customization of the vehicle actually change enough about the driving characteristics?
Mm-hmm. I
And
think
if
I
they
can
don't,
answer both those questions.
oh shit.
Well, only because I watched the Easy Allies had hands on. They got flown out to do hands on
Oh, okay.
previews with it, and they had
Yeah.
like a half hour kind of talk
Yep.
about it. And they were saying that though it looks on the outside like a Forza or like a Burnout, it drives like a Mario Kart. And so the car customization does not, at least in their preview, affect the driving. It's purely
I'm
aesthetic.
out. I'm out.
Ian's done. But it's got
I'm
like it has hopping and drifting like Mario Kart, and it's got, the items like Mario Kart. And they said even too that the open world really is its own thing, that when you're in the races, they are kind of specific tracks in those with that themed aesthetic of whatever environment
Okay.
or whatever biome
Honestly,
it's supposed to be.
that's good because I'm not a big fan of the Forza way where they're just like, it's a race, and now you're just going down the same roads you've always gone down.
Hmm.
I do prefer going to tracks,
Hmm.
so that sounds good. But honestly, I don't want to play an open world Mario Kart. I don't know.
It's
Ugh.
That's exactly what I
all
want.
the hands-on previews that I've watched, everybody seems to say that it feels really good and it plays really well.
Okay, maybe.
But I'm worried that it's gonna just be chock full of a little too much stuff. And there was an interesting comment on the impressions video, kind of an astute observation from the commenter whose name escapes me. Um, that in trying to, like, those first two racers games had very specific like set identities for each part of the world or each racetrack or whatever, where oh, this is the Knights theme, this is the adventurers zone, this is whatever. That this one is kind of, it's just that kind of sheen that has fallen over a lot of the Lego games, where it's just like the desert but wacky, or the
Yeah.
city but goofy, where in trying to
Porsche.
be all of these kind of goofy crazy things, it ends up not having any distinct visual identity. um
But I think, not to defend them, but they don't really have sets like that anymore. Like they lean heavily into IP,
Mm-hmm.
and they lean into like the target audience for the set, like the
Yeah.
creator series, the architecture series.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
that was what I found out when I was recording the impressions video, and I was thinking that same thing of like, what original themes could they pull from? And really, right now, it's just Ninjago and one
Yeah.
that they introduced last year called Monkey Kid. Um, they don't really have. It's got a tie-in TV show on, I believe, Cartoon Network or maybe Nickelodeon. Um, it's like an anime thing, but yeah, they don't really have any.
Just this sheer disappointment. It's like an anime thing.
I would be super jazzed about it if I were 9. Because it does look I've seen
let
the
me
animation and it does look pretty good.
let me get you excited real quick. Bionicle anime.
Don't even get me started. Because I went back and I rewatched the Flash animations
No!
from 2000 and 2001. Those things rock. They're
Yeah.
so good. And I would watch hours of that animated
Yeah.
at just 12 frames a second. I don't need it to be the whole 24. It's just 12 frames a second.
Well, you don't want to go to 24
You
because
just
then you get
double
the
it.
judder.
Yeah.
I
Double
brought
it.
it back.
40
That's the show.
48 frames a second. Make it cost 4 times as much to make.
Wait, Jake. I just want to
Mm.
say this while I'm thinking of it.
Mhm.
I know you like Lego Racers a lot. I also do. And I went to boot it up because for work I was like, oh, no one's mentioning Lego Racers. Let me make a comparison video
Mhm.
of the new one and Lego Racers.
I have problems with your comparison video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
You fucked up, Will.
where did I fuck up?
You
No,
did a Lego thing.
It's the demo. It's the demo screen. Yeah, I know.
okay.
I just had to record it quickly and put it up. It was like 4 o'clock and it was due at 5. Anyways, I double clicked. I double clicked the exe on my NAS and it ran on my computer, like immediately,
Wow.
perfectly fine, and loaded up. And I did a race.
It's
It was
American
incredible.
engineering.
American engineering, right there for you.
Illinois-based
Yeah.
high voltage software. Mere 25 minutes from where I am right now.
Wow, you should start walking.
I could. I don't think they're open right now.
Probably not. Moving on from the Lego to from one building game to another. Ian, how
I
much do
just
you hate
realized
the new Zelda game?
I cried because of video games twice this week.
Oh man.
Once because I was bombing Iraqis. The second one because look, I have been excited for Tears of the Kingdom, but kind of in a very docile way where I'm like, yeah, Breath of the Wild was great. I'll play more Breath of the Wild, but I hadn't really been thinking about, okay, what are they going to do new or exciting in a way to really bring me into Tears of the Kingdom? Because I mean, I hate that name. I don't
Cry.
know how to spin that in a joke. It's a bad name. But anyways,
I just love that they
Queen
delayed
died.
the announcement because the Queen died.
yes. So they put out a 10-minute gameplay trailer this week and they revealed some new things. And one of the things they revealed first is that you can fuse weapons together, fuse objects together and use them as weapons. And as soon as they revealed that, I was like giggling like a schoolgirl because I was like, okay, that's really cool. And then there was a moment where they changed the shot and Link is holding a long wooden spear and there's a pitchfork on the ground. And I literally in real life, I said, no, no, no. And then they fused them together and he had like a 18-foot spear pitchfork. And I started like laughing, crying because I was like, that's incredible. Like I was thinking about this in the shower. Let me back up a little bit. Let me just
the
tease
long
you.
pole you were thinking about in the shower?
I was thinking about the stuff they've added. So basically, they showed off you can fuse weapons together. While you're firing an arrow, you can fuse parts to it. So, like if you fuse an eyeball to the arrow while you're firing it, it becomes a tracking arrow.
Put the
Yeah.
You can
pitchfork on
fuse.
the arrow.
Yeah, you can
Put the
fuse
lotion in the basket.
you can fuse like larger objects together. So they made a boat out of logs and then they put little fans on it so they could propel it. And then they also could orient the fans differently so they can go in the air. And then they also revealed an ability to like walk into an enclosed space and immediately shoot through the ceiling to whatever the top of that space is. Um, and again, I was in the shower yesterday and I was like, I was asking myself why I had such a giddy, happy reaction to that. Because if any other game showed that, the cynic in me, the hater in me, the pro gamer in me would say, yeah, that looks cool, but that's a fake gameplay demo, or it's going to be super limited and you can only do it in certain places with certain things. But I didn't have that reaction to Tears of the Kingdom. And it's because they bought so much goodwill with Breath of the Wild. Like, you guys remember how fucking wonky that physics system was? How you could basically just do anything and it made sense? Like, you drop a torch in the grass, of course, it's going to light on fire and it starts a wildfire. You guys remember that craziness?
Sure.
Yes, I do.
Like, they bought goodwill because they could have half-assed that implementation, but they didn't. They like double-assed it. You know, they were like, I remember one of the big screenshots that came out after a couple days after Breath of the Wild came out that kind of encapsulated this whole idea. Was there was a puzzle and there were two sockets and you had to bring an electric ball into each socket. So you had to find two electric balls. And this one guy was like, I solved the puzzle, and it was a screenshot where he had found one electric ball. He couldn't find the other one. And so he just dropped metal weapons and shields across the floor to the other socket to create an electric chain. And it worked. The game let him do that, and it accepted that as a solution. It probably wasn't planned, but because they implemented the system and the physics system and the sandbox properly, it lets you do that. Like, that has built up so much goodwill that when they show just a little bit of the new things, you don't look at it and go, oh, it's going to be super limited. It's not going to let me do a lot of stuff. It's not going to be fun. You go, they're only showing me a 1% of the potential. Just imagine the crazy shit people are going to get up to this. Like, that was an incredible gameplay trailer.
The speedrunners are going to go nuts.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it was an incredible gameplay trailer, not on its own, but because it was coming from Breath of the Wild, where they bought so much goodwill and they showed we can do this properly and give you a lot of fun. So we're gonna tease you a little bit on the crazy stuff you'll do in this. So now I'm super excited for the game. I can't wait for it.
Great, love it. Now, sorry, I'm excited for it too. I think all that stuff. How long do you think the stuff you put together is gonna be there? You think forever?
Not forever. I would say a quarter of the world's distance.
Quarter. Because I hope there's like a safe spot. Because if I have a really fun car I built or a flying machine, I want to land it at Link's house and keep it there.
There's got to be maybe like a stable type concept. Yeah.
The other thing I noticed, if you look through, it's near the beginning and towards the end, and a little bit in the middle. So you're gonna have to watch the whole thing. But there's like these little platforms with wood on them and a sign, and I wonder if they're like houses you can buy or like someone's shop you can fix up to have in like different locations.
That could be cool.
Which also just made me want a Howl's Moving Castle, because you just go to the building in whatever city you are, open the door and go into the castle, and then you're...
Do you mean in real life or like in video games?
I want a video game with that mechanic in it, but also real life. But a mechanic of that in a video game would be cool.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, that'd just be really neat. I just think that'd be so gosh darn neat. Moving on here, folks, to the rest of the news.
Hey guys, we're going down the trench, and then we're gonna hit the Death Star, and
yeah, we're going down the trench, hit that Death Star. We're gonna get that Vader guy. He's gonna be dead. That Emperor. Ooh-wee.
That Emperor.
Oh, that Emperor there. Staticky. You know how often do you think the Emperor had like socks stuck to the back of his robes?
What?
Because he was lightning. You think very often?
All the time. That's why he wore a loose-fitting
I watched Andor. They don't wear socks in the Star Wars universe.
That's true. Oh, don't spoil. I'm on the last. I'm last episode.
Everybody takes off their shoes and they're just not wearing any socks.
Well, why would you need socks in the future?
It's the past.
But it's a dirty future.
That's literally the first frame of Star Wars.
It didn't say for Andor.
Believe that. We didn't believe that. There's no crawl for Andor.
That's the Empire's lies, and you bought into it whole cloth.
Oh man, I'm not immune to propaganda.
The missile knows where it isn't. Sorry, I'm just looking at the news here. Ian, tell me, what's the rest of this shit on here? It looks like
It's not important.
I'll hit this real quick. There's
so
two things in here.
unimportant.
Number one is between the Sony versus Xbox fight. Sony has been swinging, and Microsoft has kind of been dodging the punches, but they haven't really been on the offensive. I think their offensive just hit, which is basically they went directly to members of Congress, specifically those who are from Washington, the state of Washington, where Microsoft is headquartered, and they said, "Hey, Sony is really big in Japan. Maybe that's against like the US-Japan trade regulations." And so there's all these members of Congress coming together and basically being like, Sony's unfair practices in Japan are hurting American companies, and it's honestly hilarious because
They they're digging up like post World War II era documents.
And I'm not saying they have a point, but like it's very easy to sway these members of Congress when you're like Sony has like a 94% market hold of the video game industry in Japan, and it's unfair to Microsoft, and they're just like, oh my god, that's a very large number, all these unfair practices. So it's just funny, you know, Sony's way was
drop another bomb.
Sony's method was like going to the regulators that could block the deal, the Microsoft Activision deal, and just kind of lying to them and making up stories about maybe they'll give us a version of the game, but it's gonna run worse on a Sony consoles. And so Microsoft just said, hey, how about fuck you? How about we compromise like your entire business and possibly your entire country by going after your trade agreement? So it's an interesting turn in this fight. I don't think anything's going to come out of this, but it's just interesting to see when these two companies actually go head to head and put their lawyers to work and start swinging at each other, the weird tactics that start coming out. So this is pretty funny. The next one, this is just kind of funny. Multiverses came out last year in open beta. It turns out that actually was an open beta, because they're shutting the game down and they won't bring it back until next year. They basically said, thank you for playing the open beta. We got what we need. We're going to be back next year with the full game, which is wild, isn't it? That's not what most games do nowadays with an open beta. They just slow roll into the release. That's crazy, isn't it?
You think people are going to wait around for Multiverses to come back?
No. Even the people that love it, it's going to be too late. They should have just stuck with it and capitalized on it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What WB characters are they going to add into it in the interim? Neo from the Matrix?
Oh yeah, that's a good answer. I was trying to think of WB characters.
LeBron James?
Is Bugs Bunny
Isn't Arya Stark is already in it?
Is
she?
in it?
Yeah, I think she's in it. Yeah, Batman's in it. I'm pretty sure.
Brothers
Classic WB character.
Willy Wonka. They should add Willy Wonka.
Oh. But it's like one of those group characters where it's him and a bunch of Oompa Loompas. And he doesn't do any work. He just tells them what to do.
He's like Pokemon trainer.
Yeah. They could add Carlton and do the Carlton dance.
Man, they could add Mythbusters. It's a duo team. Adam and Jamie.
You know, that would genuinely be cool.
That would be cool.
It'd be like Myth Busted would be like the final smash or whatever.
One of the sharks from Shark Week.
So I'm just scrolling down here through.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
This Warner Brothers fandom wiki here, brought to you by Fandom.
They could do Back to the Future characters.
Cujo. They could add Cujo.
Classic.
Just eat the other characters. Poor dog.
Anyways, yeah, it's just a weird strategy. I don't know. I'm not going to say I hope it pays off for them because I don't really give a shit. But like, it'd be interesting if it does. It's just that game. It felt like it was more popular than people expected it, and people liked it a lot more than they expected it to. So for them to just literally shut it down for at least another 8 months and then come back is wild. Because that was not an open beta. That was basically the full fucking game. There was nothing missing in there other than characters and stages, probably. Anyways, that's it for the news. Will, how about you hit some wish list spotlight for us?
Folks, Wishlist Spotlight. This is our Wishlist Spotlight game for this week. Go and wishlist it on the Steam that helps indie game developers, pushes them higher up in the algorithm. This is Kit Bash Model Club from the Creative Kerbal Space Program. You may remember this from the demo we played last year when it was...
Did we stream?
I swear we streamed it.
I think I just played it for like 30 minutes.
Roll the
I
tape.
thought we streamed it. Anyways, it was balsa planes when it was first out, but now it is all sorts of awesome RC vehicles that you can build, explore, and battle with realistic physics. So think Kerbal Space Program, but planes, boats, and rockets, but models. And it looks really fun.
Yep, looks cool.
It looks
so go
really,
wishlist that. He changed the name recently. I don't know if this is coming out this year, but he's building up the hype for it, and hella cool. Check it out.
Yep.
Definitely wishlist
Kit
it.
Bash Model Club.
Yep.
And that's it. That's gonna be our show for the week. We're gonna hit the old outro button here. Jake Terrio, Ian Gibson, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
It was so fun. It was so
You're
fun
welcome.
being here. Folks, you can find all of our content subpixelfilms.com. We bring you straight to our link tree where you can see our Twitters and merch and other delicious things. Subpixel Team on Twitter, Instagram, Mixer, Twitch, BlueChew.com, and Ian Gibson's Backyard. Ian Gibson at Think Gibson, Jake Terrio at underscore Jake Terrio. I was gonna say at Jake with a beard, but that's Kyle. Yeah, that's it. That's gonna be the show. We'll be back this weekend with Subpixel Aerospace and then Oblivion on Tuesday, and of course local chat next Thursday. We will see you all